Hello! We would like to share some wonderful news with you. Mark your calendars on June 3rd, as President Biden has approved the distribution of an additional $3,400 in benefits to people who depend on Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits. However, what does this imply for you and your family? Well, to put it another way, these payments are like a financial boost intended to assist those who might be having a hard time making ends meet. Whether it's for bill payment, grocery shopping, or medical expenses, every little bit helps, right? It's likely that you're wondering if you qualify for these payments. If you presently receive VA, Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits, you're in luck because you do. Don't worry though, there won't be any hoops to clear in order to receive this additional money. Be delivered to you automatically in the same manner as your usual benefits. But why is this such a significant deal? Let's consider. These subsidies are intended to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity, not only to make ends meet financially. Leading a respectable life is about demonstrating that we look out for our elderly. In this video, persons with disabilities, veterans, and their families will hear from those who are getting these payments and see firsthand how it's improving their lives. We'll also take a closer look at key following months of difficult negotiations. Congress has finally passed a new law providing millions of Americans reliant on Social Security disability and veterans benefits with a substantial financial boost. President Biden and others saw this as a significant step forward for our country. On June 3rd, you should mark your calendars to receive the $3,400 one-time payment that will help counteract the debilitating impacts of inflation. This is because bank accounts will begin receiving these crucial additional payments at that time. All over the country, household budgets have been pushed to the limit by the skyrocketing expense of living. While despite a record 88.7% cost of living increase for Social Security benefits in 2023, it hasn't been nearly enough to keep up with inflation, which is currently running well over 9% yearly for individuals on fixed incomes. It's overdue to rising costs for necessities including food, gas, rent, and medication. Many Americans struggle just to make ends meet, which is why this new $3,400 payment looks to be a lifeline for many. With the extra cash, elderly and those with disabilities will be able to better afford groceries. Simply make ends meet for soldiers by paying their electricity bills, covering their medical costs, and their families as well, since the additional revenue offers much-needed comfort and acknowledges their sacrifices and service. The $3,400 payment will be automatically given to any 62-year-old receiving Social Security retirement benefits as long as their individual yearly income for 20122 did not exceed $75,000. Married couples who meet the income criteria of $150,000 are eligible for the entire $3,400 payment from Supplemental Security Income (SSI) beneficiaries, with no income limits. Regardless of their income level, persons who are eligible for Social Security Disability Insurance (SSDI) will get the payout. Veterans who are getting low-income pension payments or disability compensation through the $3,400 payout will be eligible for the VA, with no upper income restriction. Crucially, the payments are entirely independent and won't affect a person's eligibility or monthly benefits. The $3,400 one-time payout is only meant to provide eligible recipients with extra support in the face of rising inflation. They don't need it. Payments will be made automatically based on current federal benefit rolls and records for Social Security, SSDI, and SSI, without the need for any action or documentation. The funds will be put onto Direct Express debit cards or directly deposited, in accordance with how VA beneficiaries receive their monthly benefits. Will get their additional payment via direct deposit or paper check, as usual. Payments are anticipated to be sent over a few weeks in early June to those who receive both SSI and SSDI from the IRS. Each recipient will only receive $13,400, not a duplicate payment from each program. Has verified that the beneficiaries do not see the special payments as taxable income. Based on the number of existing recipients, The total cost to the federal government is anticipated to be over $160 billion. This staggering expense explains why it took a contentious debate between the White House and Congress to get the historic payments passed, despite Republicans' initial opposition based on concerns about the deficit. In the end, the payments received support from both parties in exchange for pledges regarding welfare reform, and supporters of Social Security say that making the payments is a moral imperative, even though it will be expensive in the near run. Critics, however, are skeptical that the payments make enough impact against persistent inflation that is eroding purchasing power. There are also concerns that the cash could be misused. The money is being spent to help vulnerable Americans maintain their independence amid the worst inflation in 40 years. They believe the extra money being spent will boost the economy too. Lower eligibility for additional need-based aid. People on lower fixed incomes are typically the most affected by inflation because necessities take up a larger portion of their income. With average rents rising 177% last year, having $3,400 to cover housing costs could mean the difference between staying in their current home or facing eviction. Quickly escalating medical expenses for Medicare premiums. Another significant burden that the additional funds help veterans temporarily alleviate is that of medications and medical care. Specifically, the payments honor the veterans' military service, but inflation places an excessive load on people with disabilities, so a one-time $3,400 payment won't resolve underlying issues. The payments will be made to around 74 million Americans across Social Security retirement benefits, offering a vital lifeline to millions who are struggling to make ends meet during a financial storm. Programs for survivors and crippled people, such as SSI for the underprivileged, elderly, and disabled, even though the intended benefit is only temporary inflation relief, or even if the extra money just enables someone to cover higher grocery bills for a short while, at an estimated $252 billion total cost, disabled veterans and low-income veteran pension recipients make up the largest disbursement to federal beneficiaries at once. Months or make up for overdue utility payments, it will give some of the most economically disadvantaged people in the country essential assistance. It allows lawmakers time to explore more comprehensive reforms and long-lasting answers to the growing problems with retirement security and the rising expense of living that so many American families face. Senior citizens, seniors, the disabled communities, and veterans advocacy groups are applauding the new $3,400 payments. Millions of people battling with staggering inflation would greatly benefit from this much-needed financial support, according to John Ballman, Executive Director of the American Federation for Far Too Many Blind People. The skyrocketing costs of even the most basic requirements have outpaced their paltry fixed incomes. Ballman, along with other disability advocates, has been assiduously advocating for Congress and the White House to authorize additional funding, citing research that indicated the average household costs for individuals with disabilities were. The financial strain has grown significantly, with expenditures for medical equipment and supplies, home health aides, transportation, and other expenses more than 25% greater than for non-disabled people and families. The $3,400 payments acknowledge the difficult financial circumstances that our community has been facing. Ballman claimed that it's a lifeline, will assist low-income blind Americans in paying for essentials like rent, utilities, and food since costs have risen out of control. Veteran organizations like Amvets, which raised the alarm about inflation causing severe hardship for disabled veterans of the armed forces, also welcome the relief. And injuries often face significant financial challenges just to get by on a daily basis, according to Velma Hart, an Assistant Secretary for the Amvets National. The additional payments will provide much-needed help as they battle against harsh rent increases, high gas prices, and steadily rising healthcare costs on their little wages. Hart stated that the sums validate the enormous sacrifices made by the millions of soldiers who risk their lives to protect the nation. It's a tiny but crucial admission that more needs to be done to uphold pledges to support veterans who are facing financial difficulties or physical impairments. She said that months of intense negotiations between the White House and congressional leaders from both parties preceded the historic aid package's approval. Although there was general consensus that some kind of inflation relief was desperately needed, major issues arose regarding the specifics of cost implementation and if it would provide sufficient meaning support. Senate Republicans first vehemently rejected the expansive plan, citing fears that it would further balloon the government deficit at a time when the nation's debt levels were already record highs, surpassing $31 trillion. They said that pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy would be counterproductive.